Troublesome times are here, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humbling our hearts to God, saves from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians awake. Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom, trumpets will sound. All of the dead shall rise, righteous meet in the skies, going where no one dies, heavenward bound. Guys, Wanda and I were sitting around this morning snapping beans on the back porch of our she shed, and these thoughts come to my mind. Now I'm going to move around and I'm going to sit in my porch swing like I always do, and we're going to talk about porch time. Okay, guys. I know I'm not the best singer in the world, but it's been a long time. I sang for a group years ago, many years ago. I was a young man. And one night, like I said, we were sitting on the porch snapping those beans, and we were talking about, man, wouldn't it be nice if we were sitting on a back porch of a cabin somewhere off out in the woods and not disturbed by neighbors all around us and everything. And I told her, I said, you know, troublesome times are here. I said, and everywhere you look around, men's hearts are filled with fear. And then that song, I just started singing it, and that song came to my mind. And she said, why don't you just incorporate that in porch time? And guys, that's where we're at today. Troublesome times are here. Men's hearts are being filled with fear. I was just recapping that song and reliving it. Because in the old churches, when we went to church when I was a young guy, this is the kind of songs that were sang all the time. The Glory Land Way, Jesus is coming soon, you know, just song after song after song. In the Garden, you know, It Is Well With My Soul. All these songs like this was, we sang all that stuff, and you know, you knew most of them by heart because you sang them every Sunday. And as we moved into modern church era, everything got to be, and don't get me wrong, I love praise music. Praise music is just wonderful. But a lot was lost when we switched from the old gospel songs over to the praise music. Lots of people's like, well, I don't like the old rugged cross or At Calvary and all these kind of songs. They said it just doesn't stir up the young people where they need to, you know, like we need them to be. And I'm like, we've used these songs for 100 years. You know what I mean? Like, why can't the young people today enjoy them like the young people back then did? You know, but we live in a microwave society in an era of time when everything has got to be fast and it's got to be exciting and all this kind of stuff. And guys, there's nothing no more exciting than being heavenward bound. You know, I mean, oh man, I'll tell you what. I know I started off a little different with porch time. I usually start off telling you about things that we're doing and stuff like that. And I did tell you we've been snapping beans. We've been picking the fool out of these Cherokee yellow wax beans. Got up Sunday morning, Mother's Day, picked beans, snapped beans, canned beans, and walked down to the blueberry patch, and Lord have mercy, blueberries were hanging everywhere. I told Wanda, I said, get something to pick berries in. She said, what? I said, yep. Went down and picked several gallons of blueberries. Totally unexpected. I mean, totally unexpected. And it blessed my heart. You know, I told Wanda, I said, we're blessed. I mean, literally, we're picking in May. We're picking blueberries in May. Usually don't happen until June. The blueberry festivals down here don't even start till June the 1st. And we're picking them on Mother's Day. And I told her, I said, I'll tell you what. I said, everything, just like I've told everybody, everything's a month or two ahead. Or 3 weeks ahead, I'm sorry. Everything's 3 weeks ahead. And Because somebody go back on my video and correct me. That's 3 weeks is what I've told everybody. And that seems to be exactly right. Now, I will say at Pecan Grove, we found 2 or 3 bushes over there that had a few blueberries on them, but the rest of them still green. They took a harder hit from the cold than we did. But you know, guys, we are living in troublesome times. We're living in an age and an era. I believe it's the end of an age, like spoken of in the book of Revelation. I believe we're there. I believe that evidence points in that direction. And I really think that, how should I say this? If someone told you that you have 2 days left to live, and you still had perfect health, and you knew in 2 days you were going to cease to exist, what would you do with those 2 days? Have you ever stopped to think about life like that? Because the scripture says our life is like a vapor. It's here for a little while and then it's gone. And I think a lot like that. What would I do? Because you see, none of us ever know when we're truly going to leave this world. Lots of people I know got up to go to work, automobile accident, died. Some people have heart attacks, they just pass away. Totally unexpected. They didn't plan on dying that day. Had they known they were going to die that day, what would they have done different? And I think that's why God doesn't allow us to know the day nor the time when any of this is going to happen. Now, I said that to say this. You know, Christ is coming back. He didn't tell us when. He just said, I'm coming. He did give us some clues in the book of Matthew, Luke, Mark, John. You know, he gave us clues in all those. Revelations, Ezekiel, Hosea, Amos, Joel. He gave us clues. Jeremiah, all those books out there, Isaiah, all those books have clues about the return of Christ. If we truly believed that he was going to come back this year or next month, what would you do? If you truly believed that hell was a real place where people burn continuously and never burn up, they live in torment, says where the worm dieth not. If we truly believe that, would we be doing things differently? This is the questions I ask myself on a daily basis. I try daily to commit Scripture to memory, because at some point the good old gospel book is probably going to be taken away or rewrote in a way in which it's blasphemous. And only what you have penned to memory will be all you have to go on. David, and I've told you all this many times, David in the book said, "Thine word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee, O God." What truth is there to that? I mean, listen to it. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against you, O Lord. You know what keeps us from sin? The book. Now stop and think about that. The book will keep you from sin, or sin will keep you from the book. It goes both ways. Now, is any of us perfect? No. I'm far from perfect. I fail miserably every day and have to ask for forgiveness over and over and over. And I'm like, Lord, you know how I am. You made me. You know, and You know I've got a temper. You know I don't do the thing. I'm like the Apostle Paul said, I don't do what I should do. I do what I should not do. And when I do what I should not do, it is not I, but it is the flesh that does it. You know, and you know this stuff, Father. And yet you love me anyway. And when you left us when you ascended into heaven, I think about what you told us. I leave you with a new commandment. That you love one another as I have loved you. Now stop and think about that. People go, there's 10 commandments. Well, no, there's actually 11 now. Christ said, love one another as I loved you. How did he love me? He loved me unconditionally. He loved me when I was in the middle of my sin. He loved me when I was at the bottom of the barrel and I had nowhere to look but up. He was there, waiting on me. He loved me. He didn't wait till I turned my life around and got it all straightened up to love me. No, he loved me. When Christ was walking on the face of the earth, who did he go to? He went to the down and out, the harlots, the sinners. That's who he went to. When Christian people box themselves up in a building called a church, and they don't want to be around the bad people of the world, you just failed God miserably. He didn't send you here to be around your own kind. He sent you here to seek and to save those that were lost. Church is where you go to get refueled to make it through the week. It's not where you go to socialize. It's not where you go to see what brother or sister so-and-so is wearing. It's not where you go to as a congregational meeting just so you can say, I've been to church. And why do you go to church? Well, I go to church because my mama raised me in church, or my daddy went to church, my grandma went to church, my grandpa went to church, my aunt went to church, my uncle went to church. No. Why do you think in the book of Revelation, God told the church of Laodicea, he said, I will come and remove your candlestick. He didn't only tell that church, he told several churches. Why? Because you lost your first love. Do you know you can be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good whatsoever? And that is the one thing that has been the hardest thing for me in life to get across to certain people. They will sit and argue Scripture with you. Now, to me, there's only two things in the Scripture that's worth arguing. Actually, three. The death, the burial, and the resurrection. And there's only one way to heaven. Maybe it makes four. Anything outside of that, I'm not going to argue with you. Now, those things are doctrinal, and I will argue about those things. But people want to sit around and they want to bicker and fuss. You know, God's people are the only people that kick their wounded when they're down. The Scripture tells us we're to lift one another up. If a brother's caught in a fault, lift him up. Be accountable one to another. Confess our faults one to another. Why? So that we might exhort one another. But no, we don't exhort one another. We look and go, he's off over there, that religion over there, that church over there. Them bunch of people, that bunch of blasphemous heretics over there. And people just go on and on and on. And people will tell me all the time, I don't listen to that person on YouTube because they're a Scientologist, or they're a Mormon, or they're a Jehovah's Witnesses, or whatever. And I told them, I said, what part does that play in anything? When you go to a doctor, most of your cancer doctors, your heart doctors, your doctors are foreigners. I had one that was treating my wife for cancer. He was a radiologist. He was from a foreign country, China, and not China. another country. He was of India. He was from India. He was of a cease religion. Now, did I look at him and say, "Oh, you're from a cease religion. I can't let you. No, I can't let you work on my wife." No. Had nothing to do with the fact that he knew what he was doing with radiology. With radiation treatment and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with that. That what he done between him and God. That played no part in the fact that he could treat my wife with radiation. But yet we'll sit around and we will not associate with certain people, and we won't listen to the advice of some people because, oh, they're of a wrong religion. They eat pork, and they go on and on and on, and they strain at a gnat and they swallow a fly. The Bible tells us to get the mote out of our eye. Quit looking at the splinter in your brother's eye. Get the mote or the beam out of your own eye first. All this stuff is in the book for us, guys. Put it to memory. Remember as much of it as you can. And you know what? That book has everything about everything in life. Literally, everything in life is in that book. It covers everything. You know how I know? Because it says in Solomon, Solomon said, there is nothing new under the sun. Whatever has been, or whatever is, has been already. People come up with these new discoveries and all this kind of stuff. No. Like in 2024, we have a solar planetary system alignment that has not been, if I'm correct, what do they say? It's not been since 79 AD. 9 years after the temple was destroyed, this alignment of the solar system happened. Go back and study history and look at what happened whenever that happened to the food system in the world, famine, all kinds of stuff. As a matter of fact, Adapt 2030, David Dubai, has a fantastic video on that. Go check it out. I encourage you to. And you'll find out a lot more about frequencies and about magnetic fields and what's going to happen to the earth and why we're doing what we're doing in our gardens right now. I'm not even going to go into that subject, but that's why we're doing what we're doing as rapidly as we're doing it right now, because that kind of stuff is fixing to get ramped up for next year. Guys, I don't even know what to title Porch Time today. All I know is one that I was sitting there snapping beans and that song come to my mind, and I come off over here and was sitting down just thinking, and I said, yeah, maybe I will sing it. And I'm sorry if my tone is off bad, guys. I'm not a good singer anymore. I've had some throat issues and not the singer that I used to be. I was a bass singer for years and a lead singer, and I just haven't sang in many moons. A lot of water's went under the bridge since then. But nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it brought back some old time memories. What is Jeremiah 6:16? What does it say? Gosh, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Return to the old paths. When the Lord is speaking to the nation of Israel, He told me, He said, return to the old paths, wherein are the good ways. What? They're good ways. Now, He's not talking about going back to horses and buggies and, stuff like that. He's talking about returning to the old ways of living, loving the Lord. That's what He wants from us. He wants obedience. He told us in Samuel, I would rather that you be obedient to me than to sacrifice. All He wants is just obedience. Guys, life is so much easier when you just obey the Lord. And if I get anything today, it's remembering the old ways. Not horses and buggies and, plowing behind a mule and all that. Even though I'm sure that was had its rightful time and place, and it probably was okay. My point, let's get back to some good old-fashioned morals. Let's get back to some good old-fashioned loving the Lord, prayer, memorizing scriptures, this type of lifestyle, so that we can bask in the glory of God. Go read Malachi. Read the whole book of Malachi, but there's a few chapters right up front there, 1 through 4. Read Malachi 1 through 4 if you don't read nothing else. Look at where it talks about how have we robbed God? Because he said, you've robbed God. He said, how have we robbed God? They said, when your tithes and your offerings. Now, do you know what tithes and offerings was back in the biblical days? It was food. Food. Bring your increase into the storehouse. Why? That my people may have food. Now, yes, a lot of people that had to travel long distances sold their produce and took the money to the temples. But predominantly they took food. Even when the sacrifices was done, the priest would spur in the scepter up into the pot, and whatever he could draw out, that was his portion. The fat was never ate. That was God's. That's the increase. God said, that belongs to me. But he said, bring your produce into the storehouse that they might be food for my people, that they might not perish. And think about this, guys. Today we want to fret and fuss about people who do this and don't do that and everything. Why can't we just live simple lives the way the Lord wants us to live and enjoy the life that He's given us and get rid of some of this stress out of our life? Like this morning being Mother's Day. The morning, it is the Mother's Day this morning because I'm shooting this on Mother's Day. But we got up this morning, rather than going and doing all the things that we normally would do on a day like this, the garden was ready. If you get up and your garden's ready, it doesn't matter. Everything else goes by the wayside. You got to go pick that garden. That's your food. Go read Psalm 128. Go read Psalms 128 and see what it says. How it talks about blessed is the man who raises his own food. Just go read it. Go read all that it talks about. I'm not going to sit here and quote it to you because if I do, you won't go look it up. But stop and think about it, guys. If I've got to go to town, if I had to go to work, I'm not going to get up and go to work whenever I'm supposed to. If my garden has to be picked, and that's my food for the year, because we don't go to the grocery store buying our food, that garden's going to get picked. If I got corn that's got to be planted, if I got garden that's got to be done, before I do anything, I do that. I don't go out and work my butt off in a world, paying the world, and come home and take what energy I have left and put it into my own food. No, I do mine first. I've got friends that run dump trucks and track services and stuff like that, and they'll show up about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, and you say, what was going on this morning? They said, well, I had to pick my garden this morning. I had to milk the cows this morning. And I'm like, I have no quarrel with you, my friend. You were doing what was best for your family. And guys, and I know in the world we live in today, if you don't show up on time, you'll get yourself fired, but that ain't my problem. I never worked on public jobs. I didn't want to be under nobody else's rule. I've always owned my own business. And it's tough when you own your own business. It ain't the gravy train everybody thinks it is. When you ain't working, there ain't no income. There ain't no 401ks out there unless you just create one yourself, or there's no, you can invest in other things if you want to, but you got to pay the full 15.3% on Social Security, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of goes into being self-employed that people don't talk about. But with it comes some benefits of being able to do what you want when you need to do it to take care of your family. And it helps you to be a little closer to the Lord when you do that. Not criticizing anybody who has a public job now. Don't get me wrong. Don't take it that way. I'm not criticizing anybody. Because somebody's got to work. I'm just telling you the life that I chose to live. I only talk to myself. I don't talk to nobody else. I just talk to me. Guys, once again, let me get off of here. It's a beautiful day. It is Mother's Day that I'm shooting this. So let me go help Ms. Wanda get some things done. And I hope that the singing up front didn't scare you to death. I hope that it brought back some good old-fashioned memories to you, because old-fashioned memories is what we need more in the days that we live in. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.